Mr. Bruno Nunes and Mrs. Diana Maura. सबैलाई नमस्ते। आज जुन 18, 2021 को दिन एनआरएनए मकाउ तथा हङकङ मकाउ महावाणिज्य दूतावासको संयुक्त आयोजनामा मकाउ शहरमा रहँदा के कस्तो कानुनी प्रावधानमा रहनुपर्छ भन्ने चेतनामूलक अन्तर्क्रिया कार्यक्रम हुन गइरहेको छ। यस कार्यक्रममा उपस्थित भइदिनु भएकोमा यहाँहरू सबैलाई धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद। साथै अब म समयलाई मध्यनजर राख्दै महावाणिज्य दूतको भिडियो सन्देश प्ले गरिदिनुको लागि म हार्दिक अनुरोध।
नमस्कार। यस अन्तर्क्रिया कार्यक्रमका अध्यक्ष तथा गैर आवासीय नेपाली सङ्घ मकाउका अध्यक्ष पूर्णबहादुर गुरुङज्यू, त्यसैगरी गैर आवासीय नेपाली सङ्घ मकाउका सम्पूर्ण पदाधिकारी साथीहरू, आजको प्रमुख वक्ता एवं प्रशिक्षक कानुन व्यवसायी मित्र, त्यसैगरी उपस्थित सम्पूर्ण महानुभावहरूमा मेरो व्यक्तिगत तर्फबाट र महावाणिज्य दूतावास नेपाली महावाणिज्य दूतावासको तर्फबाट यहाँहरूलाई हार्दिक नमस्कार व्यक्त गर्दछु। विशेषतः आज यो हामी अन्तर्क्रिया कार्यक्रम नेपाली महावाणिज्य दूतावास र गैर आवासीय नेपाली सङ्घको संयुक्त तत्त्वावधानमा आज यो इन्ट्रोडक्सन प्रोग्राम लेबर एन्ड अदर रिलेभेन्ट ल अफ द मकाउ भन्ने विषयमा सञ्चालन गर्न गइरहेका छौँ। यो कार्यक्रम नेपाली महावाणिज्य दूतावासको नियमित कार्यक्रम अन्तर्गत यो सञ्चालन गर्न गइरहेको कुरो यहाँहरूलाई अवगतै छ। यसमा विशेषतः गैर आवासीय नेपाली सङ्घ मकाउको सहयोग ठुलो रहेको छ र त्यसको लागि पनि गैर आवासीय नेपाली सङ्घ मकाउलाई हार्दिक धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु। यो कार्यक्रमबाट मकाउमा रहेका नेपाली साथीहरूले विगतमा पनि जान अनजानमा विभिन्न कानुनका उल्लङ्घनका घटनाहरूमा सहभागी भएको अवस्था रहेको छ र जान अनजानमा हुन सक्ने यस्ता कानुनी पालनाको सवालमा देखेका कठिनाइबाट बच्नको लागि पनि यो कार्यक्रम फलदायी हुनेछ भन्ने मैले आशा लिएको छु। स्वाभाविक रूपमा विभिन्न समयमा नेपालीहरूबाट नजानेर पनि त्यस्ता गतिविधिमा संलग्न भएको भन्ने आएको छ। अब यो कानुन आफैमा नजानेर नबुझेर मैले थाहा पाइनँ भनेर चाहिँ क्षम्य हुने विषय रहेन। मकाउ सरकारले तय गरेका कानुनको परिपालन गर्नु समग्रमा हाम्रो चाहिँ कर्तव्य हुन आउँछ र त्यसको पालना यो आजको कार्यक्रम मार्फत, आजको यो कार्यक्रम पश्चात चाहिँ सम्पूर्ण नेपाली साथीहरूमा यो मकाउ सरकारको कानुनको जानकारी प्राप्त हुनेछ भन्ने मैले आशा लिएको छु। अन्तमा स्वाभाविक रूपमा यो कोभिडको महामारीको समय छ। यो महामारीबाट बच्नको लागि यहाँहरूले मकाउ सरकारले निर्धारण गरेको स्वास्थ्य मापदण्डको परिपालन गरिदिनको लागि पनि मैले अनुरोध गर्छु। यसको साथै नेपालमा अहिले थर्ड वेभको कारणले गर्दाखेरि नेपाली धेरैले ज्यान गुमाउनु परेको अवस्था छ र हाम्रो परिवार पनि नेपालमै रहेको अवस्था छ। त्यसले गर्दाखेरि नेपालमा परेको समस्यासँग जुझ्नको लागि हामीले केही सहयोगको कलेक्सन पनि गरेका छौँ र पठाइरहेका छौँ। त्यसै सन्दर्भमा गैर आवासीय नेपाली सङ्घ मकाउले पनि अक्सिजन कन्सन्ट्रेटरमा कन्ट्रिब्युसन गर्नुभएको छ, तपाईँहरूले कन्ट्रिब्युसन गर्नुभएको छ। त्यसको लागि म हार्दिक धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु। नेपाल सरकारको प्रतिनिधिको तर्फबाट पनि यहाँलाई धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु र हामी स्वाभाविक रूपमा यो कार्यक्रमको सफलताको शुभकामना दिँदै गर्दाखेरि म सशरीर उपस्थित भएर यहाँहरूसँगै रहेर यहाँको समस्याको अनुभूति गर्ने मौका मैले गुमाएको छु। स्वाभाविक रूपमा आगामी दिनमा यहाँहरूसँगै रहने र यहाँहरूको पीर मर्कामा वाणिज्य दूतावास सँगै रहेको पनि यहाँलाई जानकारी दिलाउन चाहन्छु। हामी आगामी दिनमा पनि यहाँहरूको समस्यासँग जुझ्नको लागि हातेमाला गरेर अगाडि बढ्ने प्रतिबद्धता जनाउँदै आजको यो कार्यक्रमको सफलताको शुभकामना व्यक्त गर्दछु। हस्त, धन्यवाद, नमस्कार।
Really nice for anyone. I'm also a long-stay immigrant, but I'm always an immigrant. They see me as a local, but sometimes they don't see me as a local. And I can only imagine that for the next, there's nothing you can say to a judge or to a prosecutor. Everybody will go out. So these are basically they will go after the employer, always. It's very limited cases when they don't. And why they go after the employer? Because they like stability in Macau, they don't like noise, they don't like disputes going on in public. They don't like specifically that the big casino or any other entity, I'm talking about casino, it's the other biggest employer. They don't like somebody not paying you, because tomorrow, maybe they will not pay a local, maybe they will not pay a Chinese. So that's why when there is evidence, when there is documents, when you register what they are doing to you, you have a bigger chance of getting more benefits. And also, if you are dismissed, if you have this saying this is why they sent me out, because I disputed their order, you get reassigned to the company. You may not believe, and I understand that it's very big. This is a strange place. This is not our country. This is not our place. So you think, but I can tell you, usually the employee wins this kind of cases. Now, ways of termination of employment. So revocation, it's basically both of employee and employer agree to terminate. This is, you reach an agreement. This solution is, for example, you have an agreement, and the agreement is for periods of 1 year. And after 1 year, contract finished, the contract finished. Expiration is some reason you were hired to provide a certain type of work and there's no more need for it. Termination is when either the employer sends the employee away or when the employee says goodbye. Now, there is also something that I mentioned, is the expiration is when you were hired for periods of 1 year. Actually, according to the law in Macau, you cannot have a contract saying contract is for 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. You cannot. Contracts have no term in general. Labor agreements are valid until they are terminated for whatever reason. But it's not for 1 year or 2 years or 6 months. Those contracts are only acceptable if, for example, let's say you have to decorate an hotel. You need to put this fancy panels. So you say the job is going to take 6 months. So I will hire Mr. Bruno to go and put the panels on. I just need him for 6 months. So you write down the contract. Mr. Bruno is hired to put the panels on all the walls of Holiday Inn, and it is expected that this job will take 6 months. So this contract is valid for 6 months. In these situations where you put the reason for the contract to have beginning and the end date, they accept that you need to write it. Otherwise, any clause stating it's valid 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, it's not valid. I see many of these contracts. Usually I don't say anything because I know this clause is not valid. Okay? So if you see any specific clause saying, oh, we hired Mr. Puta for 2 years, are you going to dispute that with the employer? Just sign the contract. In the end, if there's any kind of dispute, the courts will say reason, send you up. Something else is without just there is no reason. There is none. I'm not stealing. I am not refusing. I am not having fights with my other colleagues in the company. I'm just Bruno. Bruno is a difficult guy, and the employer says, "Come on, President, I'm tired of this guy. Send him away." And when this happens, the lawyer is also entitled to send you away, but he needs to do certain things. He needs to pay you a compensation. And that compensation, there is a way to calculate. So first they will check, how many years did you work for them? 3 years. 3 years. 3 years, they will multiply by your salary. Well, they will give you 1 month of salary for each year. 3 years, 3 months of salary. Then they will check how many months. So if it is X number of months, let's say 3 years and 3 months, they will give you 3 months of salary for the 3 years, one for each year. And then they will see how many months. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. So I don't know if we need to divide 12 by 3. So they will compensate us. So they will pay you this amount. Plus they need to pay you for holidays that you are entitled. Let's say you still have 5 days to take this year, in 2021. You have not taken those days of holiday. They need to pay you for these days. Plus, I already worked, it's true, right? So I already worked 6 months facing the police, facing the judge, facing a prosecutor, is not okay. Never, ever, never, never. They bring you in, let's say, for whatever reason, to a police station. No. Tell your name, tell where you live, say I want a lawyer. Never. Never. We, as human beings, we have that feeling, oh no, I can't explain this. I'll provide this, and I will leave right away. They will let me go. They will know this is all a big mistake. Never, ever. My father was in the police department, and he used to tell us, you get there, you sit down, you tell your name, you give your ID, nothing else. Not talking. You are entitled not to talk. You are entitled not to say anything, and you are entitled to avoid. They will tell you, oh, no, mate, it's just small. I just want to know one thing. That's what they will tell you. Don't go for it. And I know it's scary because the places are usually horrible. But it's their job, if there's something they have against you, it is their job to say, this is why this person is doing this. Don't give them something. I cannot afford a lawyer. I don't know any lawyers, so please appoint somebody to defend me. And quite honestly, there's a lot of lawyers. You have not only trainee lawyers, of course, those guys, they're still so-so. But there is, for example, lawyers with less than 10 years of being a lawyer, or lawyers with less than 5 years of being a lawyer. You can get called to assist in this kind. Yes, that's true, but Mr. Bruno, before that, he was pushing and he was being very aggressive. Number 2, the prosecutor says this, but I have this witness that basically says otherwise. Number 3, I need to go point by point by point by point of the accusation and provide a defense. And I need to engage with the witnesses. Even if the prosecutor brings a witness, I need to challenge. I need to say, okay, you said that, but why did you say that? Were you there? An inquiry, if there is a trial, you are entitled to do that. They cannot say, oh, let me do it. We will decide this by ourselves with the witnesses that we have. No, you are entitled to be there. Why should you be there? Because maybe some witness is saying something that is not correct, and you can ask your lawyer to challenge it and be put face to face with that person or that witness. Oh, this is a bit too small, but okay, I'll tell you. So, theft. what are the, I exemplify these types of crimes just because they are the ones that police department usually goes very aggressive. So stealing gives you may give you a prison term up to 10 years, and if you use violence, up to 15 years. If you get into a fight, and again, I know that most of you guys are providing security services, you need to be very careful how you engage with customers that are either having a difficult day or a bad day, and they normally touch you, they push you, they abuse you verbally. Try not to engage, okay? Or engage in very last resort after you have somebody next to you that can provide testimony. No. We tried everything, we tried to calm him down, but he was just violent. He was throwing punches everywhere. Be very careful with this. When this is offense to physical integrity, basically punching, pushing somebody to the ground, stuff like that, okay? They can accuse you. I had a case of a friend of mine. He was in Venetian. This was 2009 or something, and he was taking, he was going to catch a taxi. He, his boss, and two lady friends. One of them was pregnant. And the taxi line in Venetian, as usual, back then, was very, very bad. The taxi drivers were terrible. They would say, I don't want to take you, go to the next one. There was some kind of verbal dispute between my client's boss and a taxi driver. The taxi driver gets out of the car and he goes to confront his boss. His boss moves behind my client, and my client just sees this taxi driver plus two other friends coming at him, trying to punch him and trying to push. So basically, he's young, he's fit. He basically threw a punch, hit the taxi driver. Taxi driver falls on the floor. There was a fight. My client was fine. The taxi drivers could not fight at all. What was my client doing? He was protecting himself, his pregnant friend, and his boss. He was standing. Taxi drivers come to him. During trial, the taxi driver that filed the complaint, he said, no, I got outside of the car because I was insulted and I was going to try and punch him, but this young kid hit me first and I fell on the floor. So, clear evidence that my client was just defending himself. Still, he got punished with 2 years of prison, but suspended. So be very careful with this one, okay? In the end, they will, for them to consider that you act in self-defense, it's a bit tough. Drug use and trafficking. Drug use, because mainly in China and also Macau before the handover, there was a huge problem with kids taking drugs. There were several big people, mainly children of the governor, they were abusing drugs. So there was this kind of policy that anything related to drugs, we will go heavy-handed. Not as heavy-handed as in China or Singapore, but still very heavy. Even if it is for personal consumption, they will say, you have drugs, you are a drug trafficker, you will go to jail. Some kids, some parents in Macau, they are very concerned with their kids taking drugs. Of course, for normal reasons, because nobody wants their children to take drugs, of course, but specifically because they know if they get caught by the police, they will never be able to argue, no, this is just for my own recreational use. I did not buy this to sell to other. It's just I want to do this. So be careful if you witness any situation related to this, move away. Child pornography. I put this here because this is something that Macau government and Macau police also go very heavy and they do not accept any situations where you exchange or send out or have in your possession a child pornography. And for example, this is one of the cases I refuse to take ever. I will never take a case like this. Nowadays, and to be very frank with you, it is very easy to get mixed up in a situation that you don't know how it started. There's always WhatsApp groups, WeChat groups, Viber groups, and suddenly there's something that goes across. You do not know about it, but you are there, you are in that group. And they can go after you and say, you're sharing, you're part of this network. I just belong to this group. Somebody sent this. Be careful. I can tell you honestly, I receive messages after messages. I had to get to a point where I asked a friend, can you please stop? Because one day you're going to send something that's very wrong. Nowadays we just forward stuff without checking them. And I will receive it and I will be in hot water. I do not want to be in hot water, so be careful with this. Be careful with what you share. Sometimes it's PDF files, you don't even open them, but you just forward to them. They are just there. So these are some situations that may cause you very hard problems, and I can tell you, there is no way out of it. You will always face jail time in Macau. There's specifically drug use and child pornography. There's no other way around it. There's nothing you can say to a judge or to a prosecutor. Everybody will go on. So these are basically our presentation. I am, of course, as usual, available to the questions that you may have. I'm sure that you have many questions, situations that you face, even if they are not related to this presentation. I'm more than happy to help my friends here. Shoot away. My friend over there already sent one, so don't be shy. Sure.
You said the contract we have is not valid. It will state that 1 or 2 years of labor contract is not valid. That I didn't.
That clause.
Yeah.
So clause number 1, I hereby employ you to work for me, and your job will be to do marketing research. Clause number 2. This contract will start 1 of January and will end 31 of December. This part, this clause number 2 is invalid, but the rest is valid. I know. But only this part.
Yeah, but that part, every year fee will be repeatedly be done to us, right? Like the people working over here, they always have the same contract, only the date has been changed. Like you said, from January 1st to December 31.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you explain it?
Well,
Because even the labor law, when our quota is renewed and we will go after our renewal, of course they always ask the contract paper to us, and which has always been mentioned, like I said the date. For example, January 1st to December 31st. Even it's 2 year or 1 year. They always ask us the contract. That means, as you said, it's not valid. But why is been this contract made?
This contract is made because at one point they decided to put that clause there.
You mean even the contract is made, it's none of any use?
It's still there.
Is it the way
Yeah.
to say that?
Yeah. So I just let them put that. You just let the clause to be there, okay? Just don't argue with it. Just sign
Thank you,
okay.
thank you.
Then later we discuss if I have a problem.
Yeah, thank you.
According to the Macau labor law for the foreigners labor.
Either they provide you a house or they provide you with a subsidy.
It's depend by the company, but actually it's different according to the company policy.
Yes.
But myself, I'm earning 500 per month since I joined that company. It's equal for the law.
Yes, in general they pay you 500 and you deal with it. Yes, it's always like that. As far as I know, all the contracts are
Oh,
always
it's okay. Okay.
For example, I give you an example. I also have blue cards, but my blue cards, they are Chinese, they are from Zhuhai, and they live there and they come and go. So I don't need to provide them a house. Of course I don't, because they say I have a house on the other side, what are you talking about? But based on labor law, I need to pay them 500. Again, in all your labor situations, for example, in yours, keep records. Keep records. Okay? Later on, if they dismiss you, you just go labor department. OT not paid. There you go. And you give to labor department. And the labor department will say, hey, Venetian, this. Did he punch in 30 minutes ago? Yes. But he was not working, but he was there, right? Yes. Okay. 30 minutes later, he punched out. Was he there before? Yes, but he was not doing work, he was just, okay. They will consider this as 1 hour of OT. And then they will tell you, they will tell them, hey, document, keep records. As in, anyway, of course, be careful taking photos, but I'm sure you have some kind of document that asks you to come 30 minutes before and leave 30 minutes later. Do you have that kind of document? Do you have that kind of instruction? Do you have any message that tells you that? If you have, keep it, because you may use it later on. Keep records, keep copies, do not destroy messages. Anything they ask you to come and work, keep it. Screenshots, anything, okay? Later you never know. Always when I have cases, when my client comes, I always ask, do you have any email? No. Do you have any WhatsApp? This guy asked me. At least ask somebody else to be next to you. For example, you want me to come and work. I will come with Mr. Payne and say, tomorrow you want me to come and work 30 minutes before? Because I want Mr. Purna to hear you say yes. Then I have Mr. Purna's witness. Okay? This is how you do it. I'm not talking about confronting your employer, because we know it's very difficult. They will dismiss all the employees. But keep a record. My boss in Macau, when I arrived, he always told me, it's the papers that will talk. In court, you have a record, you win. Okay?
Excuse me, sir. I want to ask two kinds of questions. One is about when we are here, working here, and working period, if we die, our dead body can consider to back to our country or not?
Yes,
What-
they
and,
need to pay.
What is the policy about?
First of all, you need to have the Macau health authorities to prepare the body to be transported by airplane, but the costs are paid by the company, by your employer.
Supposed to be the company renew our contract every years, and then they start to charge about the renew. What about the Macau labor law?
Who charge your employer?
Contract renew charge. Yeah, agencies fee.
Where I know that you pay for the renewal fee is in fact when you use an agency, but you don't need to use an agency to handle Yeah, that's what they say. It's usually the procedure is either handled by the company, the employer, to process the paperwork. And if they want to use an agency, they pay the cost for the agency. Now they cannot do that. No, they cannot force you to pay that cost. They cannot. For example, in my case, not because. For example, in those situations, my 2 blue cards, they are from mainland China. In those cases, the procedure is a little bit different because you need to engage with the mainland Chinese authorities. So we need an agency, but I am the one that pays for it. I don't ask my staff to pay for it. You cannot force your staff to pay for it.
Sir, I want to be more clear about that. Yeah. We are facing Nepalese guys over here, more than 60% who working in a contract security company. They need to pay money while they renew their blue card. Only in the securities company, they demanding money while renewable time. Maybe 1 year, they ask 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. It's not a limit. Mostly people who are facing same problem. 6,000, 10,000, even 11,000. If we pay agency through agency, our contract will be renewed. If you did not pay, they will terminate. Yes. Is it anything mentioned in labor law? We need to pay our.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything on labor law that prevents. It's like an agreement that you have and you accept that kind of practice. So in that situation, indeed, you are in difficult position because if you don't want to use the agency, you get terminated. So, but honestly, I don't see what kind of paperwork it is done by the agency. They do nothing. It's the company that applies for renewal.
Yeah, the company price for us.
The only thing left is for you to go to immigration to get the blue card done. So you say, no need for agency, I do it myself.
Sir, they will collect the money. Yeah, they will collect money before to go immigration.
The only way you have to stop this practice is to make a complaint with the Labor Affairs Bureau.
Good.
Make that complaint. You document. You get some evidence, of course. You say that I do not want to have my name disclosed because they can take action against me. They can terminate my contract. But this is what they are doing to all security guards. Every security guard needs to pay 6,000 for a renewal. So make a complaint and ask the complaint to be confidential.
Confidential.
And then Labor Affairs Bureau will investigate.
Okay, sir.
Yes, that's the only advice I can give.
Miss Diana Mora in the response in office. Now I'm going to be talking on James. अब हाम्रो यहाँ उपस्थित भइदिनु भयो कार्यको लागि धन्यवाद र यसमा केही कमी कमजोरी भएमा फेरि आउने कार्यक्रमहरुमा सुधार गर्ने नै छ भन्दै आजको कार्यक्रम महाबड दूतावास हङकङ तमाको साथ र गैरआवासी नेपाली संघको संयुक्त आयोजनमा भएको यस कार्यक्रम समापन भएको म यहाँहरूलाई जानकारी गर्दछु।